Well, here we are. The coffee cup out. There we go. It's now that time, isn't it? It's now that time. We've been working on this for a little while. Hello, everybody. Hi, Sam. Hi, Lavos. How's it going? Coffee, yes. No, coffee. Not beer, coffee. Gotta have the coffee. But also time for this. It's actually been sitting here done for like a week, but it's like, let's actually send it off. Saving this specifically for stream, it's like, no, this needs to be on screen. I'm sorry to hear it, Sam. Yeah, I did read that in your journal. I'm sorry to hear it. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about those people. So, this week is going to be Aluminum Week. It's entirely possible that this factory may take a couple of days of stream to get built. Fortunately, I've already got a start. I've done some of the preliminary work. Aww. Why, Lavos? Why? Oh, what did I do to deserve this? Oh, thank you, Lavos. Oh, gotta spend the points on something, I guess. So yeah, I guess. I'm in a jar now. Why put baby in a corner? Exactly, cat. Oh, will you now? That seems like a promise. I'm gonna expect you to fulfill that. Because that sounds like a promise. So now that we have moved on to phase 4, this opens up a whole bunch of new stuff. We've done pretty much everything I think we could do in the previous phase, but now it's time to actually, like... Oh. Can I roll to assess the situation? I don't know, is Cat DMing right now? I think Cat... Ooh. Wow, okay. Apparently the two count 120 seconds differently? That's interesting. Alright, well, I'm gonna have to make a list now. Just making a little note. It's like, the jar timings were slightly off. I do not know why. I'm gonna add it to the list of technical issues. It's like, this session is clearly already a bit scuffed because it's like YouTube isn't even working. From what I can tell, I'm not even live on YouTube. I don't know what's going on there. Haven't a clue. Was working before. It's not working today. Ooh. See? Mm. 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 Yeesh. I do like a fish.
Milestone reached. Quartz and bauxite scanning unlocked. A new generation of basic aluminum parts is now available, which can be constructed from bauxite after a complex process of refinement. The blender will be used in future processes.
So our major objective is going to be to get that thing, aluminum, up and running. As you can see, there are a lot of more stuff in here than you would normally get in a standard playthrough, and this is the mod starting to really show their heads. Like this and this, that's the Mark III solar panels. The Mark III windmill, all of this is refined power stuff. This is all refined power. Tons of refined power stuff going on here. There's even like 2 more here. The last inventory upgrade from the inventory mod. Even the refined power Icarus system, also known as the giant space laser. But one thing at a time. I've done a little bit of... Hi, Mama J. It's nice to hear from you. Nice to see you. How are things going? Well, yeah, I mean, if your entire society is based around the ocean, it's very normal that it's like fishes. It's a society thing. Well, thank you for dropping in, Mama J. I appreciate it. It's nice to hear from you. So, I've done a little bit of the preliminary work to get this factory up and running, but nowhere near the whole thing because this one's going to be a big project. Last week, we built this train line, but it just went off that way because at Desert Canyons and North Forest. Well, now there's a new wing. With trains already running. So basically all I've done so far is just get bauxite collection up and running. There are multiple trains around the world that I've set up to start bringing in bauxite. Because this factory is going to make 400 sheets, 400 casings, and 400 ingots a minute. It's gonna be a big one. So we're gonna need all the bauxite bringing in that we can get. This is where we're going to build it. we are out here in the Red Desert, the Dune Sea, which I'm sure Mama J and those familiar with Lavos, I did it again. Laveau very much know this area, because that's where Laveau tends to hang out. The one really nice thing about this location is there's a ton of resources out here. A ton. Yeah, it's like I know 2 dragons whose names both start with L. It's like there's Laveau and then there's Lavos. And I have something that people call dysnomia. It's where it's like I intend to say one name, but I say the other name. The other name comes out by mistake. It's like I have this issue all the time. Big boy. Come on, big piggy. He was a healthy boy. So the copper node there, a couple of coal nodes here. And as we continue further back, there's this limestone node, but we're not actually going to use that. Don't actually need limestone for the aluminum factory. If we wander a little further past these rocky spires, there's 2 more coal nodes. The coal nodes are very important, and we are going to absolutely be using those. Mm-hmm. Lavos over here making sure I'm not hungry. Up here, we have a nice little sulfur node. You better believe we're going to be using this. Understood, Lavos. And then as soon as you cross this ridge, there's 1, 2, 3 more coal nodes over here. And there's a ton of iron and copper in the distance. This whole... Thank you. I like the headphones. Test. Oh, there we go. Oh, the tech issues. Lovely time, lovely time. so figure along this shore somewhere. It's about where we need to build it. I'm planning on doing 2 floors. There will be a lower level that's mostly going to be logistics. And then there's going to be an upper floor that's going to be most of the actual manufacturing itself. I've set up that little train station there in the distance. You can see it. That's going to be bringing in the bauxite and where we send out most of the finished materials once they're done. It's essentially a small support facility, I guess you could say. The question is just now, how big do I want to make this? Where do I want to put it? This actually kind of feels like a really nice spot because it's like I can draw a line. Right across like that. And sort of build the factory that way. That actually looks real nice, I think. Of course, the one thing about aluminum is this is going to be a factory that we build in a multi-step process. We just unlocked the aluminum. We haven't actually unlocked everything we're going to need. So there's going to be a couple of stages to this process. First stage, basic aluminum parts refinement. And this one is not going to be the full 400 in all 3 of those parts. The first one is just, let's get everything started, unlocked. And yes, I am building this factory right around this rock outcrop. I'm gonna run out of concrete. Now, let's think about this. Special binary, we're gonna need about 4. Essentially, we're gonna build this factory twice. I mean, being a gamer, Mama J, is it's very subjective. Some people would say if you've played Minecraft once or twice, you're a gamer, but it's like, really? Ooh, hello?
Cyanosis is now following.
Hello, Cyanosis. We finally meet. It's but yeah, it's very much one of those things where it's like, never played Minecraft? Hi, Cyanosis. Thank you for following. We finally meet. I mean, there are some people who'd say it's just like, if you've ever, played games on your phone, you're as much a gamer as anybody else. It's the types who want to gatekeep the term gamer and say, oh, well, if you don't play Call of Duty at like 100 frames a second, you're not a gamer. It's just like, that's gatekeeping. That's nonsense. Look, I'm a real gamer. I play Animal Crossing Hello Kitty Adventure. I'd say you're not a gamer if you play Call of Duty. That's good. Beat Saber, Power Wash, VR Bowl. Hey, those are all games. Still valid. I came back here for concrete, didn't I? 1 second. Look, if I can't kiss someone in the game, is it even a real game? Okay, fair, fair. Indeed, and yeah, it is quite subjective. Reminds me of the label of artist. That is actually another one. It's like a lot of people will gatekeep that term. There are a lot of things that I think are art that a lot of people wouldn't consider. It's like, oh, well, you're not a real artist. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. I came over here for motors. Actually, no, I came over here for concrete. My mother, 100% Candy Crush, so that's pretty much gamer for her. And you know what? If that's what you're into, that's what you're into. I think there was a report I read not that long ago that like a huge amount of people playing video games are playing them on mobile platforms, and a lot of like the hardcore gamer crowd are like, oh, well, mobile games aren't real games. Oh, they're real games. They're real games. Makes it a real video game if there's no gay kissing. Ah, yes. Do you remember the time before gay kissing in video games? I personally don't play mobile games. I mean, I don't play mobile games either. It's like, I have a phone. Gay kissing works for me. My wife appreciates it as well. Hell yes. Gay kissing. I love it. Like, I'm gonna complain. But no, I may not have any mobile games on my phone, but it's like, I still consider a lot of, like, if people want to play games on their phone, they're still as much as valid a gamer, I think, as anybody else. See, I built a lot of the infrastructure going into this factory, like the rail line, the power, this hypertube going in and out, these trains bringing in bauxite. They're actually just, it's a big full box right now because I haven't drawn anything from it yet. But eventually, all of that here is going to connect over to this factory, making them physically separate, so it's like there's a little bit of a gap. But that's mostly because I wanted a Hell yeah. I mostly wanted there to be, like, there's a support facility that brings things in, and that's something that I started off stream. But now that we're here, we're going to start building this one, which is the actual factory on screen. I do have sort of a general plan for how this is going to go. But the first thing we need is to get the ability to actually make basic aluminum parts, because they'll be needed to do the later ones. And this is not me shutting down the kissing girls discussion. This may continue as long as it wants. And in fact, I invite it to. So for the starter, the way I figure, well, I would expect that. Considering Aisha's a male dragon with what? 2 gay wives? Checking my math really quick here. Aluminum is very much a multi-step process. We're going to start off with I figure some sloppy alumina. Yeah, that looks good. Now, those are going to go... We're actually going to build a line over there. I kissed a girl 24 years ago for the first time. Been kissing the same non-binary for 14.5 years. Hell yeah. Kind of. It involves a lot of water. It's just the name of the recipe. 200 water a minute, as a matter of fact. It pulls in a lot of water and a lot of bauxite. I think that's why they call it sloppy, but who knows? Essentially, we start off making the first basic aluminum loop, and then over time, as that's running, we start building the bigger permanent one up on the second level there. Let's see. Each one's 200 a minute. If I did my work right with the bauxite over there, the bauxite coming in at 200 a minute isn't going to be a problem. The dream I can't wait for forever, person or persons, but I mean, I gotta go outside and talk to girls. Yeah, that is unfortunately part of the process. That is kind of required. I like how it's like, I'm sitting here talking about aluminum factories, and it's like, we're just talking about, like, kissing girls. I'm not against this, mind you. I'm very much in favor of this. Oh god, that's a mood. Mama J, that is such a mood. Yeah, I feel that. It's like anybody who can put up with me is goddamn amazing. I'm looking at Tancel right now when I say that. Now let's see. This is not like a final setup. This is the sort of temporary. I'm making the temporary setup before we make the big final setup, just to get this off and running. Because unfortunately, whoa, one of the things about this factory is going to be, I mean, I spent every second we spent together. Aw, thank you, Kat. I appreciate that. Who are you referring to there, Lavos? I've put up with you for 20 years. Gotcha, gotcha. Yes, but not exactly what I was referring to. Right. Aluminum scrap is the second part of this process. And then we're gonna need some power dragged over here. As well as probably the actual bauxite. So I'm thinking I am a challenge for sure. Yeah, that's the thing about relationships. It's like when they work, they're a very good thing, and I wish everyone had them. Let's see. 7 belts and a hypertube. 5 belts, 2 pipes. I think let's go with this one right now, because our goal here so I've already got a couple of starting belts going here. Oop, not quite all the way there. There we go, 7 belts. If my math is right, it's like 7 belts, you know, should more than cover most of everything that I'm going to be taking over there. Because it's like 2 bauxite belts and 3 final product return belts. It's only about 5. Gotta clean this place out a bit. Okay. But I think we only need about 5 belts going over here, but the 7-stack tower should be more than sufficient for this task. Because we're just going from the little support factory to the big one. Hi, Frank. I feel like Frank is being judgmental. He's just staring at me. This is what I'm talking about. Frankie's just sitting here vibrating. You're gonna make me build around you, aren't you? Frank the vibrating bean. What are you stuck on? I don't even know. Frank, you need a Snickers. The other annoying thing is I have a very specific need and wants, which means I need to put myself out there even further. I mean, tell me it doesn't look like he's vibrating. The only thing, Lavos, about your original comment is I don't think you and I have even known each other for that long. Yeah, he's just vibing. I've seen magic bullets, but magic those things? Insert comment about magical beans here. A big pet rock, name it Dwayne. Well, there is a giant rock right through the middle of the factory. We can call that Dwayne. I'm sitting here working on bringing this stack over, but it's like... he's still vibrating. Oh my. And you get a proper George Takei sound. It's like, oh my. Started 2004, yeah. Sounds about right. Though Tanselenite, I think, goes back a little further than that. Let's see. Get some power lines going. There we go. That's going to be our primary power line to power this factory. General goal today is to get the first stage of this particular factory up and running. Then I imagine tomorrow... oh, out of steel already. Tomorrow we'll probably wind up finishing the final version. Come on. Oh. Both of these are full of connections. Jeez. The question is when in 2004, Lados? You can hear them spin up. Sure, blame me. I do know how to distract you, though. That is true. That is actually true. So if it was early enough in 2004... Now, the first question to obviously ask is like, why am I doing this in 2 stages? Well, very simply, the first version, we need aluminum parts to build the second version. The first version to produce the basic parts. The second version is more efficient, but requires parts to actually build it that are made from aluminum. Definitely somewhere within enough months for it to be 20 years ago today. Interesting. Because 2004 is a very interesting figure there, Lavos, because it would have to be after February of 2004? Because before then, I was in Montreal. The other big thing about the 2 different versions of this factory is going to be that it's the water recycling issue. One of the things built into aluminum is the entire idea that there is wastewater from the process. Now, not really against this, considering the actual aluminum process requires something called red mud, which is highly toxic. Fortunately, we don't have to deal with red mud. You don't recall that far back? Fair enough. Trying to think really quick. What other things do we need to go back to the main factory to get parts for? Let's get 3 smelter setups. And a couple of assembler setups. Yeah. Which basically just means we need to go back to town and get some steel. Also, something else we should probably do while we're here. Ah! Wow, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Did I? I did. Nut bunnies. There we go. There we go. Yeah, to finish that, I'm going to need to finish the belt stack, and for that, I need steel. probably gonna need some of this. All right. My brain can't do the date recall for that back. I mean, to be fair, neither can I. I can't remember that back that far. I'm just saying it would have had to have been after, like, February, March of 2004. Because prior to that, like, I built that little turnaround box specifically to be a halfway point. It's good because there will be other things later in terms of hypertubes that will join in on that particular junction point. And it's like, I very much specifically want my brain to have to go, which tube do I want to be going down right now? All right, what do we got here? Now, I don't know that anyone here watching right now was around for the Saturday stream. Friend on Discord just... Yikes. Yikes is right. Wow. Is this person your friend? Yeah, that's pretty yikerific. Okay, so you use that word cringe. I would call that like mind you, I'm not actually an Asian person, so this is probably not my room to say, but it's like I would call that racist. Yeah, when I was a kid in the 90s, racist jokes were very popular. And as an adult in 2024, I'm very... It's like... My only issue with the word cringe is a lot of times the word cringe is used as a dog whistle for its LGBT issues. So I don't really like the word cringe as a result. That said, removing that from the equation, yeah, racist jokes are... Yeah, for the longest time, it was being used in by a bunch of right-wingers. It's like, something is cringe, and it was a dog whistle for LGBT stuff. It's like, oh, this is cringe, meaning, you know, it has a trans person in it. Or it's like two girls kissing each other. I don't like the word cringe as a result. That said, it's like racist jokes. I wouldn't call them cringe. I would call them racist. Yes, I'm very in favor of trans girls kissing each other. Or just, well, girls in general kissing each other. I'm going to build it around the rock, I think. There we go. Built it around the rock. So, it is the nature of language that language is going to change over time. That is just the nature of how language works. However, my general opinion is just because a piece of language worked away for a while, that doesn't necessarily mean yeah, exactly. Yeah, people hijacking language is part of it. But there's also sometimes people do it deliberately. I'm trying to not clip those belts through each other. There we go. A lot of times people will assume that because a word used to be okay, it's still okay. Like a good example is the word transsexual. It was very much an okay word when I was a kid first coming out in the 90s. It's not okay to use now. It's considered to be a slur now. And I lived through this period of time over the last, 20 years when that word changed. It wasn't its meaning that changed, it was its acceptability. It was never a correct term. It never described things correctly. It was always flawed in that way. The reason it fell out of favor is largely because it's not correct. But a lot of people still insist on using it, and this is where I take something of a stance, because I have always felt that it is important when we're talking about the word transsexual, Cat. It was never accurate. Transgender was always more accurate. The word transsexual always had implications that were incorrect. As a result, transsexual became a slur, and transgender is the correct term. Now, I've always been of the opinion that as a person, I need to have the mental flexibility to be able to change my mind, to adapt to new information. And I feel that's really cringe and me not knowing right words. Tried to hijack it. Yeah, well, actually, I would say that to a certain degree they were successful in hijacking it. I spent about 15 years in my prior profession trying to educate allied healthcare professionals on how to work with the LGBT community. The sheer ignorance was mind-blowing. Yeah, actually, on that particular line of discussion, my current doctor, my current medical doctor, was my very first doctor where I didn't have to educate the doctor about how to do trans healthcare. And it was so mind-blowing to me to have a doctor who I didn't need to educate first how to healthcare a trans person. And honestly, I just think that's a sign that, you know, things are improving. Agreed. And thank you, Moj. Yeah, I'm glad I found them too. Essentially, in the area where I live, there is a dedicated... Oop, hang on. There we go. It's kind of funny, Levos. Trans people have been, you know, talking about the difference between sex and gender for like 30 years. But even to this day, you know, people still can't figure it out. It's like these are not the same thing. Oops, I put that on backwards. I'm paying more attention to the language discussion, and not paying attention to what I'm doing. All right. Are these actually getting through? Yes, they are. Okay, good. Oh, look at that. We have aluminum. Don't have coal, though. Well, good thing there's a couple of coal nodes right here. Yeah, but see, that kind of proves my point, Lavas. You learned, you adapted, you changed. Some people don't like to do that. It's a matter of, like, cognitive flexibility. Are people capable of changing their mind, adjusting to new information, and taking new bits of information on board? I've had the pleasure of educating my little brother last year. A good little guy, but he had no knowledge of the LGBT community. We were separated for 40 years. Oh, wow. That's a long time to be separated from a family member. I mean, took him to Sacramento Pride this year. Hell yeah! Sacramento Pride. Hell yeah. Very nice. A lot of people aren't flexible, which is sad. This is true. This is very sad. I don't know what to say. It's just... I think it's a mark of a good person if they are cognitively flexible enough to take in new information and change their mind. The other thing is, are they possessed of empathy? Sociologist at heart. I love learning about other cultures, beliefs. Very cool. Very cool. I am a person who has like a very... Yes, empathy. Yes, empathy is a big deal for me. I have a lot of empathy. I have a lot of emotional sensitivity to other people. Like, if somebody else is hurting, I'm hurting. Should turn the camera so it's not facing the clipping through the foundation there. I kind of want to go back and read. Yes, I'm very much an empath. All right. I need the stuff to build some miners. There's going to be a lot of mining in this particular build, but start with just 2 miners for coal. Ooh, I do understand that. I'm mainly just focusing on chat right now. It's like the factory building is happening, but it's basically like a secondary priority right now. Game question. How do you know where you were going? Well, that depends. What are you referring to? It's like, where do I know where I'm going in the factory? Where do I know where I'm going in, like, looking for, like, ore nodes or things in the world? Where do I know where I'm going in, like, picking, like, hypertubes or train lines? What are you referring to? Because there's a different answer for each one. Oh, in the factory. Well, it's mostly just, I built it. I know where I put stuff. It also helps that it's like I've gone and I've got signs on everything. If you look at a lot of the bins, in fact, one second, when we land here in a second, let's take a close look at the bins real quick. This is a heavily modded playthrough, so right now there's a number of mods in play that regular playthroughs aren't using. So like, there's a big sign there on that bin. It's telling me what's in it. Also, I put signs on the sides of the train stations that says, you know, this is what's supposed to be in it, or what's going to be in it. These ones over here, for example, there's nothing in them yet. So the boxes aren't marked. But it's like I've put labels on the train station to indicate this is what is going to go here. Additionally, trains, like this guy that just went by, let's look at the train network and see what that train was called. Red Bamboo Forest 2. So, the names I give to things, yeah. Autism is a hell of a drug. So, red bamboo forest trains are going back and forth between this facility right here and the red bamboo forest, bringing in nothing but bauxite. The Rocky Desert train is specifically bringing things between the Rocky Desert and Spire Coast. This guy is Red Bamboo Forest 1. So we can be pretty much assured that it's carrying 2 cars of bauxite. Except those bins are full, so there's nothing for it to unload right now. But yeah, I do... Oop, I didn't mean to do that. I do tend to label a lot of things. I label bins, sometimes just using the automated mod that sits there and labels everything. But also, like when it comes to train stations, I will manually... Ooh. Eesh. Eesh. One for the road. Thank you, Lavas. If I were to play this game, I'd have to label everything too. That's pretty much understood. Yeah. Honestly, I watch other people. Okay, Lavas, have a good AFK. Who other folks who don't label everything? I'm just like, I would be so confused. The other thing is that I was going to say, though, is in my main factory, the big one at Spire Coast, it's divided into little subsections. So each section has a particular type of thing. So even if I don't know exactly what bin it is, I can pretty much figure it out by going to a specific section. I wasn't gonna call out Lumbo specifically, but yeah, I don't know where stuff is half the time. I'm just like, to be fair to Laveau does have everything in like the central parts complex that Laveau has labeled very clearly. It's just that that's about the only place. Oh, that's gonna bug me. There we go. You know what I didn't do here? Is build a way for the coal to actually come in. It's okay, we can give him grief. He's not here right now. If all goes well, I would hope he's asleep right now. Given it's what? 2-3 a.m. across the pond? I'm allowed. Yeah, that's fair. I cannot argue with that. It would be against the rules that I've just made up. I'd be surprised if he was in bed early already. Fair enough. You know, I'm not sure why I'm... Thank you for the tail wag redeem there, Cat. He did not get that from me. Fair enough. I forgot to power those miners, and oh my god, that's clipping. I hate it. Oh my god, I hate it. This whole end is tail. Battle's tail. Indie Dairy and Edu did a lot of really good work. I love it. Speaking of which, people liking the emotes. The emotes are new. How much per minute are these? In terms of coal, 120 coal a minute. $120 coal a minute. Which actually is going to be our primary regulating for this factory, is going to be the coal input. Yay! Yeah, that was my feedback to the artists, is like, they're so fucking adorable. I love them. It takes a moment to get caught up on chat. So one of the main problems with the way this particular recipe works is the extra water output. It's extraneous. And why I don't keep this particular arrangement very long. If it weren't for the fact that building the full factory afterwards is going to take aluminum, I would skip straight to the recipe setup I used for the later one. But the problem is, you need one to unlock the other. So I have to sort of limp by. On the wastewater setup from this recipe until I can get the other one online and running. There's a whole story behind how this happened. When I was first playing Satisfactory, like the first time through, I went through so many revisions of the aluminum factory trying to get a version where I didn't have to go and literally flush the pipes every 5 minutes. I would basically pipe the excess water into a bin, let it collect, and I would try and pipe it off somewhere else so that something else would use the water. You know, water recycling is good. But then it would just accumulate and accumulate, and it just would not work properly. And then I discovered that there's another recipe set, another way to make aluminum, but I needed some aluminum to make the stuff for it. There we go. The water is now exiting. I've sent it to some fluid buffers. It would probably help if I connected them. To feed back into the system. Problem is, it's going to fill up really darn quickly. But first things first, let's get the actual aluminum scrap that this guy is making, refining. There's a delicate balance that needs to be played with aluminum. Balancing your water inputs and your water outputs. Checking my math real quick. Yeah, I was going to do 2 sets of these. This first version is only going to do about 100 sheets and casings a minute, and then I'm not even going to like factor ingots into the equation. So it's basically a little mini factory to support the building of the big one. And the big one is going to be water efficient. Closed system, no additional, like, there's not going to be any wastewater at all. But we need some basic aluminum to get there. There we go. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the first one is 8. So let's take this power pole I left here earlier. Hook these up. And we're now making aluminum ingots. The actual finished aluminum parts. Let's get some assemblers put down. I'm not clipping into that rock. I'm absolutely clipping into that rock. Okay. Can't do that. Because unfortunately I need to be able to access these things. Can I make this so that it doesn't clip with the rock? Yeah, I just need to do it way back here. Close to the smelters. Come on. Okay. There are 2 major parts that we need. Aluminum casings and aluminum sheets. So let's do 3, 4 of them doing sheets, and I'm going to have 2 of them doing casings. It mucked up. There we go. This is why you always check your work. There we go. That's one of the two ingredients. That's the aluminum ingots. We're gonna need some copper ingots for the other half, though. If only I'd had a bunch of copper nodes nearby. Oh, wait. I do. What? 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 I'm sitting there pressing a whole bunch of different direction keys, and they were all just moving them either left or right. It wasn't actually moving it up or down. It's a weird bug. Okay. Some more smelters. These ones are going to make copper. Just gonna go up there. That didn't connect at all. There we go. Whoop. There's the end of the factory. I was gonna finish building this out, wasn't I? Then I never did. Okay. Now, according to my notes... Yeah, I did get distracted by chat. You are correct, Mama J. But hey, we're talking about cool things. And let me check my notes real quick. Copper, for this first stage of the factory, uses 100 copper a minute. So... there should be a nice little copper node right over here, right along this stack of belts. I would say that I planned it like this, but no, actually, I completely forgot to bring parts for the third miner. And you know something else that I should probably do while I'm at it is we should probably get a radar tower up and going. Because you look at the map and it's like there's no nodes here at all. We know that's not true. This area is covered with nodes. More than we're going to even use, in fact. Let's go back and get some parts. Gives me a second to talk to chat anyway. How's everybody doing? How's everybody's Tuesday? Well, thank you. That's actually sort of what I'm going for. One of my whole things that I try to do is like, you know, Satisfactory can be very complicated for somebody who's like not in the know. So I try to be the, essentially, one of my skills is explaining things to, you know, something that's very complicated to someone who may not know or understand it. Not necessarily. I mean, I'm looking over at like Catherine over there too, who's like, you know, Catherine's not exactly super, you know, deep knowledge on Satisfactory, even though Catherine's even played it. Doesn't mean that all of this aluminum stuff is going to make any kind of sense to Catherine. I mean, you know a little. Mama J, you've watched Laveau. But, you know everything? Yeah, probably not. It can be complicated, so I'm trying to sort of explain as I go along how I do certain things, why I do certain things, what, like, recipes or reasonings I'm using as I go along. Whereas those are both subjects that I would probably come and ask you about. Hell yes. Also, Vor. I wouldn't pretend to understand anything about Vor. That's definitely one that it's like I would have to go and ask Laveau. I do not know. It's not my kink, not my area. Not that I'm shaming it. I love that they're having fun. Fair enough. One of the things that I read that I thought was super interesting was that there's no effective difference between a trans woman and a cis woman breastfeeding from every report that I've read. I always found that super interesting. The trains are literally stacking up to come in and do bauxite unloads, and I just hit the wrong tube. Oh Lord. Are we crashing? Oh, nope, there we go. There was a second there the whole game stopped. Yep. I had a friend once many years ago who actually, because of a glandular quirk, as long as I'd known her, she was lactating, and I was maybe, God, this was 2000, so I was like 18, 20 at the time. I didn't even know that. It blew my goddamn mind. Blew my goddamn mind. Okay. I went to get parts to build a miner for copper. Right. I assume so. I'm just going to assume that you were correct. I am not knowledgeable enough to know one way or the other. Let's make an insertion point here. There we go. Yeah? Was it a bad thing? If it's a bad thing, you don't need to talk about it. I mean, you don't need to talk about it if you don't want to. Let's see. See, and this is why I use the 7 belt stack. Retired now. Or just less stress. Yeah. That's understandable. Understand that. I'm currently struggling with autistic burnout. Not the same thing, obviously, but relatable. Yeah, be proud of it. Absolutely should. Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair, Mama J. The only real difference between the two is like the circumstances and things that lead to it. I'm gonna go back and check real quick and see what the throughput is on that miner. It needs to be at least 100 a minute. Oh yeah, 120 a minute. We should be good. I still want to tweak the water inputs, but essentially we should be making about 100 parts a minute of the first 2 basic parts, and that should be enough to get us started. Oh yeah, we're already starting to make some. Got some casings building. Got some sheets building. All right. I'm actually going to say pause on you for a second, switch you over to casings. There we go. That way I'm balanced 3 and 3. And I'm going to make a little output for it. that way we can feed them to the train. I could use an ordinary merger here, but... Force of habit, I guess. There we go. And if I've done all of this right... Oh boy. Boy, I gave myself a very narrow opening, didn't I? Well, he's almost done. He's almost got everything set up to automate right to the end of the current stage of the game. Did I leave myself enough belts? I barely left myself enough belts. Oof. I used the 6 belt stack and it was just barely enough. Or 7 belt stack. I still needed the return product belts. So if you look in the upper right-hand corner, Mama J, there's a little indicator. It says complete phase 4. That's on Laveau's screen also. The only difference is Laveau's much closer to being done building those parts. He's got most of them automated, although he's because it's fun to listen to and chat and blast. I haven't seen him since 2018. I kind of miss it. That's understandable. It's the one thing about moving across the world to be with somebody you care about. I just think it's really glad that it's very heartening to me that it's like you're there to support him and what he's doing, because I didn't have that. Hell yeah, that's awesome. I try not to... My perspective on this is somewhat weird. I try not to, like, trauma dump about it. So that's why I sort of don't talk about it that much. Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm glad for your dad, then. I also want to eventually, like, separate out the belts and the tubes so that I'm not sitting there jumping over the railroad tracks. That's for later. This one's ingots. This one's casings. This one's sheets. Okay, let's do... That's the sheets one. Let's do it first. Which one do I have on the bottom? That's the question. Sheets on the bottom, casings up top. Okay. So let's think this through logically. One, two. One, two. And one, two. Okay. Casings are on the top right now with sheets underneath. So I need to offload the casings belt that's on the top first. Otherwise, I'm going to wind up with parts in the wrong bit. Exactly, just watch out for the trains. The trains are much bigger and will not stop for you. So yeah, that's going to be the casings pin right there. Why is that pointing the wrong way? I don't like that. That's not going to connect if I don't fix it. Should do it. Okay. Connecting the casings line. Take two. That's casings? Yes, that's casings. Okay. There we go. Now. I enjoy watching other people like Laveau playing the game because I get a chance to see how other people, like, how they solve these problems, how they think through these things logically, how it makes sense for them. And, you know, sometimes I take things I like and use them, sometimes I don't. It's just... I like having, you know, seeing the way other people do things. It's very interesting to me. So now we have sheets loading in. Have fun. Go take care of that, Mama J. I've got sheets loading in. I've got casings loading in. So now we just need one thing here. We need a train. It's gonna actually unload these and take these to where they need to go. 1, 2, 3. Yes. Time to commit acts of train. 1, 2, 3. And a helper unit. Oh. Let's see. Checking my notes real quick. Okay. I was checking to see what color I needed to paint it, and it's blue. It's already blue, so I'm not going to worry about it. So, this is Red Dune Sea Aluminum, which picks up from Red Dune Sea Aluminum and takes it to Spire Coast. RDS1. Load. Aluminum sheet. Aluminum casing. And aluminum ingot. Save. Unload. Spire Coast unload. We're now going to block traffic, so I need to hurry. Ingot. And casing. Save, save, on. Oh. Thank you, Mama J. I do enjoy a good ear pet. This is our first load of aluminum parts. Go have fun with your brother. Have a good one, and thanks for dropping by, Mama J. I always appreciate the conversation. It's great. You have a good day. All right. Do a quick check of microphone levels. Everything's looking good. All right. Now we find out if I did this right. Eh. I don't even think they're set to unload correctly. Alright, need to do some work here. Unload. 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 We need some parts. Fortunately, the train will just continue unloading. We'll keep going out and getting more, bringing it in, which is fine. At least until the fluid levels cause it to back up and stop, which I'm going to need to keep an eye on. Also, I'm going to try to not make the mistakes that I made last time on Saturday. By the way, the problem with the train station, it had no power. Wasn't a bug at all. I was just tired, and I'd forgotten to connect it to power. That's why it wouldn't load. Why did I do that? Despite my knowing where everything is in the factory, I still get turned around sometimes. There we go. Six. Okay. The other major mistake, of course, that I made on Saturday was I went for 4 hours without taking a break, and I intend to not make that same mistake again. So I think here in a bit, I am going to take a little bit of a break, just to, you know, gear up to keep streaming for a little while longer after. Get a drink, get a snack, that sort of thing. You know, one of the problems I did here is there's just not enough room between these two sets of train stations. There's just not enough room. Should have left a lot more room. Okay. If I've done my alignment correctly, then I have not. Oof. Okay, so there. There, that looks correct. Yeah, it's much better. Well, while I'm waiting for that, let's take a nice little Nice little factory break. You know, OSHA rules. That sort of thing. I'm allowed my break. Be right back. Derp. So, yes, it did. The train eventually came through. So, we're finally actually now getting product from the factory. A couple of things we're going to need to do now. First things first, actually take the parts to where they need to go. And secondly, we're going to need to go back there, tweak the water flow, just a bit. So let's figure sheets, casings, ingots, and something else. We're going to use this back corner because it's the one corner down there that in this particular mega factory that it's like I'm not actually using, so we're going to make use of that corner. Store aluminum. Now, the more efficient recipe that we're going to use for the main high efficient part of this aluminum factory is the instant scrap. The one thing that it needs is it needs sulfuric acid, which technically we don't actually know how to produce yet. So we need to nurse ourselves along on this lower functioning version of the factory just long enough to get sulfuric acid. Then we can build the super efficient version. That's the main reason also why we actually need aluminum to build the aluminum factory, is because that is a blender recipe and blenders use 2 aluminum parts. Aluminum casings and radio control units. So getting those two being manufactured is key. I should also probably at some point build lights on this floor. I say that a lot. We're also going to need to unlock Logistics Mark V, which is the current milestone. Because this new factory, oh, you better believe I'm going to be building it with Mark V belts. I could do it with Mark IV, but oh, the pain. Oh, the pain, the pain, the pain. I could also like to get the hover pack, because that's also really useful and requires aluminum. All right. Some storage bins. Chill for just a half a second. Grab a stack of these aluminum sheets. I should be able to go knock out this Logistics Mark V milestone. I also want to check the console and see what else we've unlocked with that. That should be able to do that. There we go.
Milestone reached. Improved conveyor belts and lifts can now be constructed.
Hazmat suit. Okay. Yes, we do have the radio control unit. That's important. There we go. I'm gonna be cheeky and do this one first. I just wandered in a circle, didn't I? Oh well. Two. Go. I'm just following the list on the right-hand side. The pick list. Grab some motors. and go back to those aluminum bins that we started. You know, I'm not sure why I'm bothering. Just grab the whole stack. We could actually probably drop off the old Mark IV belt materials on the way back, too. Wonder, 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 wonder. Yeah. May keep one stack around for other things. But we need to carry a whole lot less EIBs at this point.
Milestone reached. The hoverpack enables aerial overview of all powered factories.
And that's the one that I need next, that's the one that actually has the sulfuric acid in it. So that's going to be the big one. Note the one thing that's going to keep me from actually finishing that is the radio control units. Which means I'm going to need to get those manufacturers not only built, but belted up in order to progress to the next stage of that. And I think that's something that's probably going to happen. In between today and tomorrow's stream. In the meantime, check up on the wastewater overflow in the bit that we did build. Main reason that I'm not thinking of doing the setting up for the manufacturer to make the radio control units is just because it sounds awfully boring to watch, you know? You've seen me put down manufacturers and belt them up. It's sort of a boring process, if you ask me. Yay, the hover pack. Very handy. Oh, believe me, at some point, I'm gonna be building so many of these. So many. Waiting for it to get back. Part of me just wants to just nope out and go do something else. But it's like sunk cost fallacy. Waiting for it to get back. 55 seconds. Doing battle with the sunk cost fallacy. Figure out who's winning. What do you think, chat? Nope, that decides it. Let's go back and check on the fluid levels. Because we're gonna do some math. Normally the hover pack is actually quite noisy. You will note it's not making any noise. I have specifically manually disabled its noise. Which is the only reason that I deal with it. That's not even a mod, that's base game. I also like how the hand grips for the hover pack still float outside the hypertube. Just one of those funny little display glitches. It's been there since update 7, if that tells you anything. Alright. Alright. That stopped because it doesn't have scrap. That stopped because it doesn't have ingots. That stopped because it's full on water. Okay. Exactly what I was expecting would happen has happened. The water overflow for the output water is completely full. See, it's like there's more than enough finished solution. More than enough solution, it's just, it can't get water out. And so the problem is, I keep winding up having to do this. And now everything runs. So this is the primary challenge of aluminum refining in Satisfactory, is this wastewater handling. This drove me bananas on my first playthrough. Absolutely lost my damn mind. So, right now, until we build the actual finished aluminum factory up there, which, you know, we need those radio control units to build the blenders to do so. For now, we're going to attempt to align the water production to make it so that we have to press the flush button as little as possible, but we're not going to hit 0 because it doesn't seem to like that. So we have these 2 units, each consuming 200 water a minute. So that's a total expenditure of 400. Each of these guys is producing 120 each. Let's turn them off for a minute. So 400 is the expenditure. Using the water collectors, we can do 120 times 4, that's 480. Now, these guys are returning 120 times 2 every minute. So 400 total expenditure minus 240 is 160. 160 divided by 2 means we need about 80 per minute in actual water collecting. So we don't even need one of these sets. That was just to kick the aluminum off. So, in theory, this return line right here, coming from the end, is returning 240 a minute. $120 for each of the 2 refineries. These guys are going to sit there and like not have enough water because, of course, you know, we've shut off the freshwater intake and it's just running entirely off the recycled water right now. So it's getting 240 out of 400. So we need 80. And we need to be strict about it. 80 a minute. Each of these is 120 a minute. We don't even need that. We only need 80. If I've done my math right, that should be enough to keep these things, these refineries, producing 100% efficiently. Because we're bringing in 80 fresh water Let's put divided by 2 there. It's 160. So we need 80 from this one as well. So 400 total expenditure, minus 240 from the returned water, 160 from 2 underclocked water collectors, each bringing in 80. it should theoretically be 100% efficient. There shouldn't actually be any need to flush the wastewater. It doesn't actually work like that in practice. Notice these guys are sitting here not at 100% efficiency. They're still choking. This is the problem with the base aluminum recipes. They are not 100% efficient and really can't be. But that's as tweaked as we can get them for now. Mathematically speaking, that should be perfect. That should keep it from us needing to babysit it. But in reality, they're going to sit there and not be running 100% efficiently. Which, for our big 400 a minute on everything aluminum factory, is not going to be anywhere near what we want. Especially when I start mass producing radio control units. Oh man. We're going to be chewing through the aluminum so quickly. Radio control units. Let's look at these. Got 3 recipes. Pretty much all are made in the manufacturer. Your choices are kind of how many parts do you actually want to use? The one that produces the fastest requires the most parts. Like that crystal oscillator there. Instead of the computer, just 10 circuit boards. Not too bad. It uses rubber, though. Believe me, when we get this running, it's going to chew through our supply of rubber in no time flat. And 60 aluminum casings a minute. Just actually feeding it a lot of materials, particularly if we overclock. But We're gonna need a lot of these. A lot. So we're gonna need to go with the fastest producing one we can get access to. Which means feeding its great thirst for materials. So this is the part where I was saying it's like, this is not very exciting. I tend to find this part not very exciting. The other thing is, I'm trying to avoid the mistake I keep making of, by the time I close stream, I'm tired and derpy and making mistakes. Yep. See what I was talking about? These ones are not going to be permanent. These are ones that are just guideposts. Like that. All right. Looks like Cody is still streaming. Not go back there. Let's go over here. These are going to be our belts that go out to the aluminum and bring it in. From the boxes we've started. Alright. So roundabout here. We are going to take the sheets with us because there's going to be other recipes that are going to use them. Like, oh, say, batteries. But right now our main interest is the casings. Because casings will make the radio control units, and that is what we need getting produced in order to continue with the project. I didn't quite do that right, did I? Yeah, look at that. Okay. Here's the circuit boards. Actually flowing? It says no power. Ah, yes. So we've got the aluminum casings in the circuit boards. Need the oscillators and the rubber. Oh look, the oscillators are right there. Where's the rubber? Stuck on this side of a wall. That's going to be challenging. Or I guess I could cheat and thread the needle? Oh, wow. It's a Mark III belt. I thought I'd already gotten all of those. Oh well. So what I think I'm gonna do... See how many things I can thread through that needle. I think I can thread 3 things through that needle. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Now you get a little bit of an insight into my thought process when I'm running these. Of course, there's another way of going about this. That might be to just run an entirely new belt. But, as you can also see, it's like I'm hitting my end for the day. And we're only about halfway through this factory. This factory is going to definitely be a 2-day build. Tomorrow, I'm going to try and actually finish it. Fortunately, yeah, the radio control units are building. We have enough on hand. The rest of it is just a matter of basic parts.
and running belts, bunches of miners, and just building a factory in the way we have several times now in the series. But right now, I'm thinking I need to stop. So I will see everyone tomorrow for that second half as we get everything hooked up for the big aluminum plant. Give you one hint though. There's this one little oddly colored blueprint that I've had here in my blueprint since the beginning, what I call optimal instant scrap loop. We're going to be using a lot of that. Running a lot of belts, a lot of miners, and a good amount of load balancing. And I hope to see you then. Have a great evening.